Hey, welcome to the walkthrough of Redemption Boogie 2011 layout. If you've got this, you're on the committee, and I'm trying to let you in on what I've got laid out here from suggestions and from the plan. Or you might be an industry person, in which case I'm trying to show you where you're most likely to wind up before you get there, so you'll have some idea what the layout is and where everything sits as you pull in. You're going to notice, for those of you that have seen or been to Redemption before, this really isn't all that different. There's some vital little details that are different, but for the most part, very similar to last year, especially with landing areas, all those same as before, loading area, same as before, tandems, same area, vendor row, same area, camping, same area. But there are some differences in the details, and I'll touch on those as I go through the different sections. So here we are sitting to the north of the airport, looking down at it. You come into the airport this way. Main assembly area is down in here where we'll do registrations and so on. Parking will be along the roads that you really can't see here. The loading area out here, as I mentioned, vendor row and so on, are all next up. Let's go look at the registration area first. So when you pull up the road, we are going to have some folks scattered around with parking. There's an FBO office at the airport itself. We're going to wind up blocking off part of the parking lot, just using like a 5-gallon pail with some signs in it, some caution tape and so on, giving us a working area for the boogie starting here. As you come in and look at registration, one of the changes from years past is that we're going to have a little bit more signage, right? We'll have a food unit out here, shaved ice unit, toilets and so on. That was all there before. We're still going to have Fun Jumper registration right here. We'll have a sign on top of that, though, telling Fun Jumpers what it's for. We're going to have a tandem area, registration area set up like last year. You'll notice it's got a different colored tent in the middle. This year we've got 6 new 10 by 20 tents. You're going to see 5 of these used immediately right in here with the registration area. Bleachers, same place as last year. So all this ought to look pretty familiar, right? Fun Jumpers are going to come in, register there, go through the door, and essentially be in the boogie for the rest of the time that they're there. Tandems are going to set up here, get registered here, then we're going to move them right into a corral and keep them tightly enclosed here. We'll have the WFO spectators sitting over here watching things, and have all of our WFOs in one tight little area. One thing to mention about the tables and chairs here for everybody who's setting up, we want these to stay in place. We're going to have a ton of tables and chairs. Derek's got us hooked up with a rental place that's near one of his stores, so we're going to have a buttload, like 100 or so chairs, and I think it's 16 or 18 tables. I can't even remember how many it was. So plenty to go around. Don't be stealing them for card games or to eat off of or whatever. Everybody's going to have individual sets so that these can stay ready for the next morning. Let's go take a look at the tandem holding area. Again, nothing unusual from last year except the shade, because it gets brutal over there. So we're going to have shade set up underneath those 10 by 20s. And this will give us, 20 by 40 or 40 by 20, however you want to look at it, feet of shaded area in here. We're going to fill in underneath there with some rental tables and chairs as well, so that there's places to sit. We'll also have our picnic tables in there as usual. Now, one of the critical items is the positioning of the manifest camper, because the manifest camper, if we look at it from above, is actually part of what encloses the tandem corral here, and that's going to be important for us rather than having it sitting out where it was last year. We need the butt end of it to be right up against the tandem area. We're going to run fence up along this edge so that we can bring tandem payments up here and then right back inside and not have that mess that we had set up before. Fun Jumpers will come right around this way and be able to walk up to cashier. Tandems will come and work their way up to cashier up there. And we'll pick up the the tandem students from right there as well. One thing that isn't on the drawing yet, just because I haven't had time to get there, is this section right here will actually be an 8-foot tall stand that has an exterior manifest monitor on it. So you'll be able to see where your manifest, or sorry, when your loads are coming up on a manifest monitor right out here. That will also give us an anchor point for the caution fence. This was actually intended to be safety fence, but this is the closest thing I could steal. So where you see these barriers, we're not actually going to have something this permanent. We'll have safety fence as usual, but we'll have an anchor point here and an anchor point back here to create the fencing from. You'll notice there's no speaker on top of the manifest camper. We've moved the speaker out, and it's actually going to be sitting on the beer trailer, which I'll come back to here momentarily. And we're going to be broadcasting in FM so that we can throw manifest calls out to the camping area and anybody else who has an FM radio on, so that we don't have to run speaker wire everywhere. Let's take a look at the hangar area. This is still pretty bare, but last year, if you'll recall, we took the north half of the hangar area and turned that into tandem packing. That's again going to be the case this year. We're going to have 3 frames in here for tandem packing. So hopefully we can keep the tandem stuff moving without wearing out the packers too fast. We're going to have a manifest monitor, again on a stand, somewhere in this area, so that the instructors and the tandem students, the instructors and the packers and so on that are in here can see who's up when and how long the calls are and everything. The beer trailer, we're going to butt right back up against the camper, keeping the taps on the pavement, but the offside wheels out on the grass, so that we don't have beer sitting right in the middle of where everybody can see. We'll use the LSPC 50th anniversary banner or something to cover the taps during the day, and then take them off at night. We've got a misting fan in here. We managed to rent a couple of those, and so we'll strategically position them. For now, I've got one planted in here. We'll see whether it stays there or not. We're also going to have Red Bull tables, coolers, and so on inside this area. I haven't drawn any of those in yet, but you can picture having stuff like that scattered around. The inside food area, where last year we had the, I think it was called the feed trough or something like that. This year, it's going to be the Lions Club. The feed trough was affected by the floods. They're not going to be out, so the Lions Club's going to do both inside and outside food. Dwayne's still going to have his food. We're still going to have a dumpster back there. There's a whole bunch of detail that's not filled in back here. The beacon, the airport manager's house, and so on. I may or may not get that filled in, but back here is essentially unchanged, so any of you that have seen it from last year will know what it looks like. Change the layout of vendor row. Instead of making it a corridor, it's now a semicircle. And the fun jumper area and the main packing area that we're trying to drive people to most of the time is in the center. Vendors around the outside. I've kept all of the high power draw units to the east side, so that we have shorter throw to get power out to them. So hopefully we can manage to get powers through there for Liquid Sky, for Hypoxic, for Firefly, and I think that's all the campers that are going to be inside. We've got a rental 20 by 40 tent. Again, it's coming from the guy at Derek's place. Nice touch, by the way. It's free, and they're setting it up and tearing it down for us, which is kind of awesome. We've got our existing 3 packing tents that you'll remember from years past, and a 4th 10 by 20. We're going to have JD's tent set up out here, speaker on a stand out here. The massage therapist tent is going to be here, and we're also probably going to have one of those misting fans over here so that you can keep a little bit cooler. Really, that's about it for layout, right? We'll use the Red Bull tent for the loading and staging area, right? As we're getting ready to load and when we're doing the loading. So it'll get in a lot of videos and stuff, and that will help with the Red Bull folks seeing their stuff on video. Helps us get all the free product that's going to be sitting over here, and we're going to be giving out to jumpers. So for the vendors, SkyVenture Colorado has kind of always been in this corner, still going to be in this corner. Then we're going to go Liquid Sky, Hypoxic, Firefly, Jump Shack, Mirage, Aerodyne, Performance Designs, and the loading tent. And all this is somewhat subject to change. That's where I planted them for now, so I'm open for suggestions and arguments if anybody wants to suggest a different layout, as long as we can do it with the power that we've got. I'm completely flexible, really don't care which ones we put where, because we've got all good vendors and we're going to have traffic going to all of them. The loading tent, again, as I mentioned before, is going to be the Red Bull tent. We're going to have the Red Bull wind blades over here, and there's a pretty good chance that we're actually going to have a printer that works out there this year. Camping area, essentially the same as always. The rest of this, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. So please let me know what I missed. If you have suggestions or comments or sticks and stones or whatever you would like, let me know what you think. Otherwise, this is the plan for setup next week. Thanks.